Hey there, everyone. Welcome to the AEW Collision post show. It is Saturday, August 12th, and I am here to talk about what went down on tonight's episode of Collision. Now, I'm going to be honest. I think today I'm going to have a little bit of some differing opinions about the show. But before we dive into all of that, I want to go ahead and promote some stuff really quickly. So if y'all don't mind, I'm going to go ahead and promote a couple of things. And first and foremost, I want to go ahead and promote the Hikaru Shida interview that I did. So I spoke to the AEW Women's World Champion Shida, and we did about like a 40-minute interview. If you guys haven't checked it out yet, please do so. I think if you don't really know Shida that well, or you kind of want to get to know some more of her personality, go check out that interview. I think you guys will learn a whole lot about her, and I genuinely had a really good time talking to her. I'm really proud of that interview. I think it's the most positively reviewed interview that I've ever done. A lot of people have been just sending me some great feedback. And also, I'm very excited because, as many of you know, I've been promoting the Apple Podcast and Spotify podcast version of my shows here in the last couple of weeks. And guys, I just checked the ranking, and keep in mind it changes and fluctuates every single day, but today is the highest I've ever been, and I am currently at number 32 in the top 100 wrestling podcasts in the United States. And you all, as wrestling fans, know how many podcasts there are for pro wrestling. And to be even at number 32 is kind of a big deal. And so I'm trying to rank higher and higher. I want to break the top 30. I want to get into the top 20. I want to get into the top 10. So at any point, if you guys can, please make sure to add me on Apple Pods or on Spotify and leave a review if you can. They really do go a long way in helping me rank higher and also help people essentially just find out about my podcast, thus allowing me to rank higher by getting some more views. And I'm really proud of that Shida interview, and I'm hoping to get some more interviews, guys, because clearly the more views, the more interviews that you will get. So that's definitely what I'm trying to do. Also, I'm going to be honest to everybody. This is probably going to be the most exhausted you will ever see me right now. Today has been an extremely long day. I woke up at 4 something a.m. to get ready to do Busted Open, did 3 hours of Busted Open today, and then drove an hour and a half to my other job and did like 19 interviews with this MMA promotion that I work for called Up Next Fighting, and then drove back an hour and a half, got here, ate something really quick, and then started watching Collision. So usually, I don't know why, but it really did hit me today. I think maybe it's because I don't got my C4 energy drink that I had last week. So anyways, I want to thank you guys so much for those of you who already checked out the Shida interview, and for those of you who have left ratings on the Apple Podcast page. But let's get to it. We got a couple of super chats, and I want to kick off the first super chat. This one was from Furthausen, and he actually sent it on last night's Friday night Smackdown show, but I was unable to read it because it came through afterwards. So Furthausen, I want to thank you so much for sending the super chat in yesterday, saying, great interview with Shida. Keep up the good work. Thank you so much to Furthausen. And again, everybody else who has sent in or said any sort of lovely comment regarding the Shida interview. We got another super chat here from Joe Bab 64, who says, Christian is a better father than Arn Anderson. Oh man, I was not expecting that one. But you know what though? Even though Christian did not allow his daughter to hold the championship, you'd be surprised. Christian's still up there, and not too bad. Not too bad. Although when I saw the clip, by the way, because I ended up seeing the clip first of Christian, what he did to his daughter on Collision, I thought it was the funniest freaking thing ever. And I almost want them to do like more of that. Like, I know you don't want to overplay it, but it was just too funny to ignore. I would like to see it again. Grapple Geekery sends in a super chat saying, Collision was a few counties over tonight, but I couldn't go see it live. Seeing the post show more than makes up for it. Congrats on top 32. Thank you so much, Grapple Geekery. Although I feel like my opinions on Collision today are not going to be what you guys might expect, but we'll get to that. Reggie Simmons sends in a super chat, a very generous one, saying, just showing support, keep kicking ass. Reggie Simmons, I want to thank you so much for always being super generous on this show, on this podcast, and I'm sending you over some good karma. So let's get to it, guys. I mentioned that my opinions on Collision are going to be a little bit different today. Now, I care a lot about what I'm taking the time to watch on Saturdays, right? I care a lot. And I've been really digging all of the Collision shows so far. The one that I mostly liked, my favorite episode, was actually the one that I was here reviewing last time, which was the one the week before SummerSlam. I thought that show was just banger after banger after banger. Like literally insert Sheamus into this and have him say his banger after banger line. And that is literally what Collision was. With that being said, I'm a big fan of the show, but I felt that today there was really only two things that I in particularly liked on today's show. And of course, that includes the main event, and that includes the items that we opened up the show with in regards to Ricky Starks. However, because we only had that one main event match that I feel like this show, aside from the main event, did not have enough good wrestling on the show this week. I feel like given the last show that I was on here reviewing, where, I was talking about the ladder match, I was talking about the Darby Minoru Suzuki match, we were out here talking about all these matches. I feel like today's show did not deliver the full 2 hours when it came to the in-ring wrestling. And I know that everyone's going to be like, oh, well, because of the main event, everyone's going to be like, oh, it's phenomenal episode of AEW Collision. And while there was a couple of good things, the main event was really the creme de la creme of the in-ring portion of the show tonight. I really did wish we got a little bit more good wrestling on today's show. Again, this excludes the main event because the main event was phenomenal, as it pretty much a lot of people already expected it to be. And so I might as well go ahead and kick it off with that. And so let's go ahead and get into that. I'm going to kick it off with the main event. And MD out here brings it up that, yeah, we got a couple of people saying, kind of agreeing with me here. We got M. Caspito, who says this was a one-match show, and MD says the main event got 30 minutes. And we got a couple more thoughts in here, and I'm going to pick up some of them as we go through. But I want to start off with the main event because that was truly the best part of the show. And really what we ended up getting was CMFTR, which was clearly FTR and CM Punk, in case you're wondering what the initial CMFTR mean. Hey, you never know. You never know who's on here watching for the very first time. So we got CMFTR versus House of Black, and it was for the AEW's Trios Championship. Now, going into this match, of course, I would love to see CMFTR as the Trios champs. That would be so hella freaking cool. We get it. It would be awesome. But, the House of Black, they have been... The thing with the House of Black is that the idea of the House of Black is very freaking cool. Like, you look at that group and you're just automatically interested in what it is that they're going to bring. However, they have not been a hot group each and every single week. And by that, I mean, they haven't always been necessarily heavily featured. Their momentum kind of goes up and down and really changes throughout the entire week. And so going into this match, I felt like there was absolutely no reason to necessarily have the House of Black lose the Trios Championship, only because I feel like it would hurt them a lot more to lose the championships in this scenario than it would for them to than it would for CMFTR to win. Like, I feel like if CMFTR gets their moment, which I'm sure eventually they will, I feel like it's just not the time right now because, clearly you got FTR already as tag team champions, and then you got CM Punk with the quote unquote real world's championship. And so it didn't really feel like it was going to happen for CMFTR here tonight. At least I didn't feel like that was going to happen. And it didn't necessarily change my mind at any point during the match. But even so, though, the match itself was very entertaining. Best match of the night. If you guys are everybody has different things that they tune in to pro wrestling for, right? You tune in for some people tune in more so for the sports entertainment aspect of it, and some people tune in more so for the wrestling aspect of it, and some people kind of need a nice little mix. I need a mix. I need a nice little mix of both wrestling and obviously the entertainment aspect of it. And so for me, this match here definitely delivered in-ring wise. And part of what I enjoyed about it was really seeing a couple of things that really stood out to me. And the one thing that I'm going to bring up right away, because it was a very special moment, was seeing CM Punk across the ring from Malakai Black. And when that moment happens, they get in the ring and they're staring off of each other, and they have a moment, and the crowd recognizes the moment and they're cheering, and everybody's kind of like, okay, here we go. Like, these two guys, they're about to go at it. We know both of these guys are really good when it comes to the striking and whatnot. So you were pretty excited to see that as well. And so that was personally one of my favorite portions of this match. But it was crazy too, because as I was sitting there watching, I was thinking back to when when Malakai Black was Aleister over on WWE. I remember always back then thinking, man, I would really like to see Aleister versus CM Punk someday. And I remember thinking, yeah, that's never going to happen. And it was crazy because as I was watching this right now, I was going, oh my God, this was something that I never really thought possible, because clearly, CM Punk was gone. He was, doing other stuff. We had Aleister in WWE. I mean, this is like, way back, right? Feels like centuries ago now. And so having that moment with Malakai and Punk was really freaking cool. Even the moment later on in the match when they were sitting across from one another and again having this really cool moment. And I like the exchanges that they had. At one point they both got each other with a nice strike and took each other, ended up knocking each other both out. So that was really cool. But overall, they kept the action really hot. Some other moments that really stood out to me included Brody King doing the cannonball on CM Punk. That was freaking awesome. Of course, we see there was a really killer Meteora from Buddy that really stood out to me during this match. That was really fun. At one point, we see CM Punk hit his elbow. He goes for the cover, but it's not enough. And in the end, we end up seeing Samoa Joe come out of nowhere, lock in the Coquina clutch on CM Punk, who's on the outside. And so this kind of leaves FTR in the ring outnumbered. And so Brody ends up hitting a lariat on, I believe it was Dax, and gets the win. And so we end up seeing the House of Black retain. But I didn't do this match justice, guys. If you want to watch the wrestling side of it, if you want to watch the match to watch for this particular show, it is definitely this main event here. And here's the thing, though. The Collision is like the CM Punk show. It's the CM Punk show. There's so much interweaving in and out in regards to Punk that this is just the Samoa Joe portion. So I do want to tie in the Samoa Joe stuff that we got on the show to this, because as I mentioned, he was pretty much the reason for FTR being left in the ring outnumbered by the House of Black because of his actions to CM Punk. But earlier in the night, Samoa Joe came out and he ended up having a match that was really nothing. It was just him versus Andrew Everett. It was a fine little, very, very quick match. Nothing much else to add about that. What I want to talk about is what Samoa Joe said afterwards. So as we all know, last week, Samoa Joe challenged CM Punk to a match at All In London. And we have not heard an answer from CM Punk just yet. Samoa Joe came out and he's pissed the hell off, and he has some pretty damn good lines in this, and he's fired up. He's angry because CM Punk has been silent and he has not been answering his challenge. At one point, Samoa Joe says, "As far as I'm concerned, your real world champion is acting like a real bitch right now." Ooh, that was good, man. I like shots like that. I was a big fan. I was actually a really big fan of that part. And so I'm thinking like, okay, let's see what else we get from this. And Samoa Joe tells CM Punk that he's done asking him to have this match. Instead, he's going to force him to have this match. So that's the Samoa Joe CM Punk portion of all of this. We'll break down the Ricky Starks stuff in just a second, because like I said, there's a lot going down on the show in regards to CM Punk. He's connected with a lot of different stuff, but we got a couple of super chats to get into. And this one is from Grapple Geekery, who says, "I'd like to thank my Lord and Savior Samoa Joe." Grapple Geekery, I was wondering where you were going with this super chat. Like, where are you going with this Lord and Savior stuff? So good stuff there. Thank you for that super chat. Roberto Arsenal says, "Who needs the victory more, Hobbs or Miro?" Ooh, that's a tough one. So, okay, let me circle back to that one. Actually, you know what? Give me a second. I might as well get into that now, and then I'll circle back into the CM Punk stuff, because I want to give Roberto Arsenal his get that portion out since he sent that super chat in. So we had, let me break this down really quickly. So we had Powerhouse Hobbs. He comes out and he is a former TNT champion, and so is Miro. They are both former TNT champions. But anyways, Powerhouse Hobbs comes out and he's starting to talk about this next chapter in the Book of Hobbs, right? So that's what he's been doing. He's been having the Book of Hobbs. We've been seeing it now for months. And he's talking about how he's looking for redemption. And that should have been our key word right away. So if you heard the words redemption and right away you knew where he was going with that, kudos to you, because it was very obvious from the very beginning that he was going to call out Miro. So he basically starts questioning, how is he supposed to redeem himself after losing the TNT championship? How is he supposed to redeem himself after losing in the Owen Hart Cup tournament? And then he finally says, well, I need to call out the Redeemer, Miro. And so Miro comes out and before he can even make it to the ring, he's attacked by Aaron Solo and Nick Camarado. So that was a little bit interesting to see. And Hobbs doesn't do anything. So by the time Miro actually gets into the ring, Hobbs hits him with a spine buster and then has him laid out. And when he's laid out, he puts the Book of Hobbs on his chest. So this goes back to Roberto's question of who needs the victory more, Hobbs or Miro? My friend, that is a great question because I think they both freaking need it. So let's talk about where these guys are at and what the hell has been going down. So Hobbs, like we mentioned, he had won the TNT championship not too long ago, and it was after Revolution, somewhere around there. Sorry, really shitty memory, but Hobbs was TNT champion, okay? And it kind of felt like he was on top of the world, and they were going to start pushing him, and they were going to start all of these things. They were going to do so much with him. All right. I was on the boat of like, this is Hobbs's year. He's going to freaking go for it. We did an interview. We were so hyped up talking about him being champion. It was all phenomenal stuff. Right. And then QT happens. QT happens that night. He wins the championship with the freaking help of QT Marshall. And let me tell you guys, that was a big, big stinker. It was such a lame way to have Hobbs be part of now this whole thing that he was doing with QT. And I get it. I get why they had decided to do it. QT did a lot of really good stuff for Will Hobbs, and the backstory of all of it was good. But on camera, it was not great. It was not working. And people were like, we need Hobbs the hell away from QT because he is just dragging the man down. And so that kind of sucked, right? And so we end up seeing Hobbs lose the title. And after that, it was like, okay, he's in the Owen Hart Cup, but he ended up losing to Ricky Starks. And so what else is there? There's kind of nothing right now there was nothing right now for him until tonight, him calling out Miro. And so he really went from like this high to all of a sudden this very, very fast drop that there was nothing there. Now, Miro, when he was also champion, he had a couple of, he got a couple of good stuff in there. He had some good matches. And then we just had a long period, what feels like a year of seeing Miro in and out of AEW, And so finally, when Collision started up, he was one of the names that was promoted as, being part of this new brand and, going to be featured, going to be one of the Collision guys. But for the most part, they were just having him go out there and have like these really, I wasn't really too great. Like the matches were like whatever. It's like you wasn't really screaming hot shit yet for Miro. And so weigh that out. I kind of highlighted a little bit of what's been going down with Hobbs and Miro. And I was trying to think if I can convince myself as to who needs this more. And I feel like with that explanation that I gave, I feel like you can make a case for both guys. But because I feel that, here's the thing, Miro is already going to be a bigger star when you compare him to Hobbs, because he's Miro, he's Rusev. We've known him. People know what he can do. People are excited. People have seen him, but people don't necessarily know exactly everything that Hobbs can do. and Hobbs is still relatively, a new name. A lot of people don't, a lot of people don't know him as much as they know Miro, right? So for that reason, I feel like Hobbs would probably need it more. So I am leaning more towards Hobbs. However, I feel like AEW will probably go the direction of Miro. But I think both of these guys can get over simply by having this program together, because what they need is substance. What they need is something, some sort of plot, some sort of they need a story. They need something, because other than that, they're just there. And so I think both guys, regardless of whatever they decide to do, is I think they're both going to hopefully get over in this, because it's going to be rough if it doesn't. But I think these two guys will probably work very well together. And I'm excited because they're two beefy guys too. Let's stop and think about that for a second. These are two beefy guys. So I'm expecting some, I don't know, beefy action maybe? I don't know. I don't know the right words. Sheldon Jackson, my good friend Sheldon Jackson is here. Sheldon, thank you so much for the super chat. Sheldon says, I'm just curious to know if the House of Black Andrade feud is over, or did they turn the fire down and plan to continue it? Well, he got his mask back, right? Oh, and that match was freaking phenomenal with Buddy. But I do know that Andrade, clearly wants to have that singles match with Malakai Black. However, I don't know if that's in the cards to actually happen. That match is still definitely something that they can do, but will they do? No idea, because I'm starting to feel like they are moving on in a different direction. So we'll see where they're at by the time we get to All In, All Out, and even post those two big shows. So it kind of feels like right now it's stopped. Like it feels like they're moving on to different things, but so I'm not really expecting them to circle back to that quite just yet, but we'll see. Sheldon Jackson, thank you so much for the super chat as well. MD says beefy action is wild. Let's see what else we got here. I want to see some comments as to what you guys think about basically whether or not you prefer to have Miro or Hobbs be the one to really get over in all of this. So let's see what you guys are all saying. Let's see. This is from Joshua Ward, who says the Book of Hobbs versus the godless Miro equals big meaty men slapping me with vague, I'm guessing you were saying religious overtones. That is true. That is freaking true. Why didn't I think about that sooner? They do have vague religious overtones in all of this. You're right. The Book of Hobbs, and then you have the freaking Redeemer is out there talking about God like almost every single week. Oh man, that's kind of funny actually. Now it feels a little funnier to me. All of a sudden it should be like a triple threat match. Miro, Hobbs, and God. God's gonna come down, be on Collision, and I don't know, wrestle in the match or something. Who knows? It's not like it hasn't happened before, guys. It's not like it hasn't happened before. All right, and let's go ahead and get some more. We got so many more people sending in some super chats, so let me get to them. This one is from Stephen Marchuli, who says Hobbs would be money in Stamford, Connecticut. He would. He honestly would. I think that he would probably get, I would imagine, I don't know. Of course, you can never really guess what someone's experience is going to be like in AEW or WWE or somewhere else, right? Like you can't ever really guess something. There's too many key factors involved. But man, like right now, if Hobbs was on freaking Smackdown, he'd be freaking awesome. Can you imagine Hobbs with the Street Profits and Bobby Lashley in their new stable? Are you kidding me? That would be freaking money. But I don't like to play this game because there's too much of, well, what if, and let's be real, that's kind of just a waste of time. So, yeah. But Brandon, but I still appreciate the super chat, Steven. Brandon sends in a super chat saying, yes, please give us Hobbs versus Miro. This is a tale of two guys that AEW has mishandled, in my opinion. How can you go a whole year without using Miro is mind-blowing to me, and Hobbs needs to drop QT. Yeah, I agree. I agree with, of course we can't necessarily say that AEW has mishandled, right? Because we don't know what's going on backstage. We don't know people's situations, but from the on-screen side of it, from what we've seen on screen, yeah, it hasn't necessarily been a hoot for Miro, and we've had a couple of hoots for Hobbs, but nothing more than that, really. So, yeah. Brandon, thank you so much for the super chat. That was very generous of you. Yes, boy says, I was blushing when Hobbs Miro was teased. It's the beefy boys out here getting you blushing, man. Yes, boy. Thank you so much for the super chat. All right, let's go ahead and press on from here. And we got Banningham who says, "Got to push those two meaty men." Ryan Peterson asked a good question. He says, "Where is Wardlow?" So Wardlow, by the way, recently did an interview, and I forget who it was with that he did this interview. And I'm paraphrasing, by the way, but in this interview, he kind of mentioned being down in the dumps about being a little bit depressed about not really being on the programming. So I thought that was interesting. And again, I'm paraphrasing. So if you want to figure out exactly what he said, Google it. I'm sure you guys will find it. But I did read an article where Wardlow kind of seemed, kind of down about not necessarily being heavily featured right now on the show. So who the hell knows what's going on there? Arza288 says, large William Hobbs would be on NXT. He would probably get he would definitely get some sort of adjective right in front of his name to like really promote his size and stature. So yeah, that would probably definitely happen. We got a super chat here from Steven who says, I wouldn't mind a Punk versus Black singles feud. Dude, I don't think you're the only one. I feel like, dude, if you're here and you want to see CM Punk versus Malakai Black, please guys, drop a hand emoji in the chat. Raise the arms up in the air. I want to see this chat blow up with a couple of hands up in the air. Wave them like you just don't care. If you want to see CM Punk versus Malakai Black at some point in a singles feud, if you want to see this, again, let me know in the chat. Send in those hands emojis, guys. Oh, they're coming in. We got them. We got Vincent Landry out here wanting to see that. We also got Richard Martinez, Bobby Batito also wanting to see it. And I'm pretty sure everybody else, Alexis, I was about to say, I think there's people probably looking for the hand emoji. David Cow also sends his hand emoji in. Fernando Zayas, Johnny T, Zeno Hour, MD, Base Martian, Luis Montoya. We got it going. Raphael Smith. We got a couple of people sending the hands in. So prior to, really quickly, this just reminded me of something. Prior to my wrestling days, before I used to be a wrestling podcaster, or actually, I was actually already wrestling podcasting, but I was doing a lot of live streams, and you guys all know TikTok, right? Everybody here knows TikTok. Well, prior to TikTok was known as Musical.ly, and Musical.ly had a sister app called Lively, and I probably lost a couple of you here, but on the Lively app, I used to stream all the time. I'm not kidding you. I used to stream like maybe 6 hours a day, every single day on the app. And one of the games that I would play, because clearly it's a app for younger people, especially then, it wasn't necessarily as popular as it is now. So it was more of an app for like younger people. And one of their favorite games to play, I kid you not, was the emoji game. And so basically the emoji game would be like, I would literally be telling people, okay, send me the star emoji. And people would send in the star emoji, and whoever was first was like the winner. And I know some of you are probably going, what the hell are you talking about, girl? I'm not kidding you. I played this game for hours. I don't think I'll ever play it again. I'm too old for that. I'm too old for that now, but it was definitely something I used to do back in the day, and actually kind of made money out of it. So I don't really necessarily regret it. So it was a good time. But anyways, let's get back to the pro wrestling. And since we were talking about CM Punk earlier, I want to circle back to the top of the show, to the top of AEW Collision, because this was definitely my favorite part aside from the main event. So story-wise, dude, you guys already know. You guys know how I feel about the Stark CM Punk program. It's my favorite program on AEW. I've said it a million times, but I'm really digging what this is doing. And I am such a big freaking fan of Ricky Starks, guys. Like, this dude has it all. And I almost feel like more people need to like get on board, man. Like we need to get, I think if Ricky Starks got a catchphrase like the yeah over, I think a lot of people would be talking about Ricky Starks the way that they're talking about LA Knight. But of course, on the AEW side of things, right? I feel like Ricky Starks is the man to look out for. He is literally the future. And this is the first real feud aside from the MJF one that he had that you can really see it. The dude is fired up. You can tell that he recognizes the opportunity that he has right now, literally getting the rub in this feud from one of the most how would I word CM Punk? How would I word CM Punk? He's a big star. Yes, he's controversial, but regardless, he is a big star. So regardless of the controversy, he's getting the rub from one of the biggest stars in pro wrestling, CM Punk. And so Ricky Starks, you can tell, recognizes that because he comes out each and every week and the dude is fired up. When he had those confrontations with CM Punk, he matched up the energy. I watched Ricky Starks versus CM Punk last week and I loved what they did. I loved the match that they had and I loved the post-match angle where Ricky Starks essentially attacked Ricky the Dragon Steamboat with the belt. So that's where we left off with that. And we came back this week, and what's been revealed to us is that Ricky Starks has been suspended for 30 days from in-ring action. So he cannot wrestle for 30 days. However, they did this thing where he can still be on TV because he went and got himself a managerial license. And so with that managerial license, he's still able to be on TV, but he cannot wrestle. So this is definitely more like of an old school thing. And we've been seeing like a lot of those types of stuff implemented into AEW Collision and not just into the actual programming of it all, but just like the overall, like little pieces of stories have had some very old school feel to it. And so that's kind of what we were getting with this whole managerial license and him being able to still be on here. I love this. I love that they're doing this. I feel like it's working and they have not lost me yet. Like, I feel like we're barely kind of getting it going. Like, I feel this roller coaster is just starting. Like, we're on the part where it's starting to like, you know, we're going up. We still haven't gone down the first little drop there. So I'm really stoked about this. And I was dying of laughter, guys, because I was dying of laughter in this. And I don't know how many of you guys caught this or thought of this, but what was funny is that Ricky Starks literally beat, and they said it, a 70-year-old man, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, last week with a belt, with his own belt. He beat the man with his own belt, a 70-year-old man, all right? And he's being suspended, right? So they're making all of these announcements, and then Ricky Starks goes off and he starts saying, like, you know, CM Punk, you ain't Superman. You know, yeah, I beat a 70-year-old man. And he's all saying, like, you're not bulletproof. And what I thought was funny was that although I think that the fans were mainly chanting for the fact that Ricky Starks was standing up against CM Punk, I found it funny that they were cheering for the guy that beat up the 70-year-old man. Think about that. We're cheering the guy. We're cheering for the guy that beat up the 70-year-old man. Please tell me you guys found the comedy in that. I was dying of laughter of that, even though clearly I think the fans were mainly rooting the fact that he was standing up to CM Punk. And so in this, though, Ricky Starks declared war against CM Punk. He declared war. He said he's going to burn down AEW. He says that CM Punk ain't Superman. He's not bulletproof. And he was super freaking fired up during this. I was thinking, oh my God, he really is going to burn down AEW. Someone call Tony. What's going to happen here? That's how well he essentially sold this entire thing. So I was a big fan of this, man. Thumbs freaking up, guys. Thumbs freaking up. All right, so let's get some thoughts in here. Please, guys, send in your thoughts, and I'm going to go ahead and read a couple of them. I'm going to go ahead and kick things off with Sheldon Jackson. Sheldon sends in a generous super chat saying, Tony Khan knows how to book smaller guys and sucks at booking big men. Vince knows how to book big men and sucks booking smaller men. Balance, I'd say, if someone could book everyone well, regardless of size. I never thought about it that way, Sheldon. I'm trying to think if there's been, and someone please remind me if I'm not thinking of someone, but who's been the best booked, biggest guy in AEW? Who am I not thinking about right now in terms of size, guys? In terms of size, who has been the best booked, biggest guy? Now, I know Wardlow got, his opportunity and he's a big guy, but he wasn't booked that great. In fact, I went from really loving Wardlow to not caring about Wardlow, which was kind of unfortunate. Okay, I'm getting some funny answers here. My name is not Earl says sing Satnam Singh. He did have that very fun music video. I'll give you that. The music video was fun. Samoa Joe. Okay, if you want to count Samoa Joe, but I think I'm thinking more in terms of like big. David Cow says Paul White. I wouldn't necessarily say Paul White was booked that great. Brody King, yeah, he's a big guy, but yeah, I wouldn't say he was booked like so extraordinarily either. I'm trying to think who else here. People are saying Luchasaurus. I guess. Everybody. Oh, here's a good one, but it's kind of just gotten started though. And this one's from My Name Is Not Earl, who says that Big Bill is getting a bit of a rub. I freaking love Big Bill, guys. You know what? I'm rooting for Big Bill to be the guy, the big guy that gets the best push for a big guy. You know what? I'm rooting for Big Bill. Now, granted, it's only just started, so we're getting there. A couple people are bringing up Brody Lee. That's a good one too. A very, very good one there too. So yeah, I'm seeing some good options here. A couple of good options, but I still feel like because of the variety of names that we're seeing, it's not like everybody came out here and gave like the same name like 50 times, right? Nobody came out here and gave the same name 50 times, but I am gonna root for Big Bill to be the guy. Let's all root for freaking Big Bill. I'm a fan of his. All right. Sheldon Jackson, thank you so much for getting that conversation going. Grapple Geekery sends in a super chat saying they want Starks to be the heel versus Punk, but the crowd still cheers for Ricky even after attacking Steamboat. Maybe AEW should run with that instead. Guys, it definitely feels to me like it feels like almost sometimes, depending on the crowd, depending on what's said, depending on what's happening, you do see a little bit of like, yeah, sometimes you see CM Punk get cheered. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes you see Ricky Starks be the one that gets cheered. For the most part, Ricky Starks has been getting cheered. Like to me, I know they're writing him as the heel because you can tell he's doing heelish things. He's the one who started with the cheating. He's the one who beat up the 70-year-old man. He's the one doing heelish things, right? CM Punk is technically, to me, supposed to be the baby face, but it's not coming across that way because the crowd is not reacting that way. The crowd is still very much reacting there's still a split decision on the actual crowd. The crowd is split still. Each and every single week, no matter what city they're in, every city that they're in is different in regards to how they're going to boo or cheer, react simply to CM Punk. So it is very hard to say, but Starks, even though he's being written like a heel, he does not technically feel like a heel. He feels kind of cool. He feels like a cool heel. So that's good. I like that. I like more of like the tweener role for him. Brandon Rosen says the specter of CM Punk claiming to be the real world champion is hanging over the All-In main event. Do you think CM Punk challenges the winner at All Out? And who's his opponent, MJF or Cole? Yeah, so this was something that I had mentioned on the AEW Dynamite post show that personally, for me, I'm hoping that at All In, after MJF and Adam Cole have their match, that MJF wins and that CM Punk comes out and finally gets in his face and says, let's freaking settle this. Who is the real champion? I would be very disappointed because I feel at this point they have held off way too long on having MJF even acknowledge the stuff that CM Punk has said. And I feel like at some point, it can be all fun and games and stars and rainbows. Like he needs to confront this head on. And I'm hoping that the reason we haven't seen it yet is because we're going to see it at All In. And I think how awesome would it be if at the end of All In, you have MJF CM Punk staring at each other face to face, and a great promotion for their next week, All Out. So yeah, I really hope that that's the way that it plays out, but who the hell knows? Brandon Rosen, thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate you, man, for all of your support. Okay, so let's see what else we got here. All right, so let's get into, all right, let me rewind to the beginning and go from there. So really quickly, we got a match between the Acclaimed versus the Iron Savages. Now, I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. I don't get to watch Ring of Honor very often. So I've missed out a lot on the new era of Ring of Honor. Ever since they got to Honor Club, I really have not had the opportunity to really watch. And so I know that commentary mentioned that Iron Savages had been on ROH for doing quite a bit on there. I haven't been able to see much of what they've done on there. So I'm sorry, but this was really kind of like my intro to them. So seeing them in this match though with the Acclaimed, I liked the match. I actually did like what we saw from the Iron Savages. They're kind of a Denise tag team. Like this sounds really bad, but I like big guys, I like big guys that come out and do cool things in the ring. I'm always a fan of that. But so the match itself, I appreciated. And then prior to the match though, I'm curious. I don't know. I didn't tweet this out, but there was a line because usually I tweet out like surprising quotes or, funny things that were said or holy shit moments that happened, whatever is like highlights from the show, I tend to tweet out. And one of them, I was curious what the internet felt about this one, was one of the lines from Max Caster's rap today, the one about Lizzo. I'm curious what you guys thought about this, because he said the Acclaimed taking out these hippos looking like the backup dancers from Lizzo. A lot of you guys may or may not have seen the controversy surrounding Lizzo at the moment, where her backup dancers are accusing her of all these really terrible things, guys. Like, it is bad. Like, it is a laundry list of things. Like, girl, Lizzo, I can never support her after this. Like, I'm done. So, like, I used to feel bad for Lizzo because she used to get so much shit. People always, making fun of her weight and all of that, right? And man, I used to feel so bad for her. And after I saw everything that she's been reportedly accused of doing to her dancers, I'm like, girl, I cannot support you no more. But it was a crazy line there for sure. Oh no, I have two people on here who said they've never heard of Lizzo. Well, she's a female rapper. Yeah, I believe she's a female. Yeah, she's a female rapper. I only listened to her a little bit of her music, so I only know like 2 songs really. But and chances are the song I know is like the most popular one, and I'm forgetting what it is now. But I knew Lizzo mainly because she interacts with a lot of my favorite singers, and so that's a lot of how I know Lizzo, but I only know like maybe 2 songs of hers. But I still know who Lizzo is though. And I was following the news on all of that. Metalhead for Life is back in the house and sends in a very generous super sticker. Metalhead for Life, thank you so much. You know what? Every time Metalhead for Life sends in that super sticker, I'm going to start doing a little bit of some air guitar playing here, because I feel like you need a reward for, or maybe this is a punishment for all of the very generous super stickers that you've been sending in. Thank you, Andrew G. Truth Hurts. That's the song. That's the one. I don't know if that's the song that made her famous, but that's definitely like the first song that like I ever heard of for Lizzo. So yeah, that's definitely the one that I enjoyed. So yeah. All right, let's press on from here and get into. Oh, by the way, really quickly, the Acclaim did have a post-match angle, and really quick, they just said that they are back, and this Wednesday, they're going to be on Dynamite, and even though Billy Gunn is not with them, that they're going to have the spirit of Billy Gunn. And the last time that we were here, we were talking about how Billy Gunn teased his retirement, and we haven't seen him since then, and who knows when we're going to see him again. I'm pretty sure we will. It's just a matter of what. It's just a matter of when. Luis Montoya sends in a super chat saying MJF as real world champ and Adam Cole as AEW champ. No, well, regardless, like whoever CM Punk challenged, it has to be like the AEW champion, right? So let's say Adam Cole were to defeat MJF at All In, then CM Punk would have to challenge Adam Cole, because then he's the AEW champion. So it would no longer be MJF. It would have to be Adam Cole. So that's the reason why I would definitely say it would have to be if you want to see that match, it has to be with MJF. Luis Montoya, thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate it, man. Okay, so after this, we did get a backstage segment with the Bullet Club Gold, and basically they were talking about how they feel that the Elite doesn't have the right to call themselves the Elite. The Guns are going to be facing the Bucks on Dynamite, and they had a really great line where they said, "Don't bring super kicks to a gunfight, guns up." I loved the "Don't bring super kicks to a gunfight" quote. That was really freaking great. And you guys know I have not been a fan of the Ass Boys. Like, I have not been feeling the Guns this like whole entire time. With all of that being said, their inclusion in the Bullet Club Gold has been literally the best thing for them. I'm seeing them differently now. I'm not seeing them as dorky little kids anymore. Now I'm kind of seeing them as like, maybe it's still a little bit obnoxious, not so much anymore, but rather, these kids that just think a lot more of themselves. These young men, these young fellas who think very highly of themselves. So I do see them a little bit different now. And so I am liking them in Bullet Club Gold. So I'm glad. At first I was kind of like, oh, you're pairing up Jay Weir, adding them to Bullet Club Gold here. Like, I was not feeling that at all at the beginning. But now I'm going to be honest with you. I do not mind it. I'm enjoying it. I think it's a lot more tolerable than what they were doing in the past. So I'm getting closer and closer to being a fan of the Guns, or at least appreciating what they're bringing to the table. So I'll leave it there. All right, so let's go ahead and get into the women's match. This is very, very quick. Here we go, guys. Another super sticker from Metalhead for Life. Thank you so much, Metalhead, for life. And that was a terrible air guitar, but thank you so much for the super chat. So Kris Statlander and Willow take on Mercedes Martinez and Diamante. This was an okay match. I think my issue right now with and this is probably just a me thing. I'm curious to see how the chat feels. So if you're here, let me know what you guys think. And again, if you watch this on replay, let me know what you guys think in the comment section. But I think right now, I kind of struggled getting into this match because you got four contenders here. You have four workers here, right? But Kris Statlander is your TBS champion. I care about Kris Statlander because she's the TBS champion, and I've been excited to see her come back. Willow, I care about her because she has been literally everywhere and she's been killing it, and this has literally been her year. However, I haven't necessarily been, I don't know if a lot of it has to do because I didn't get to watch a lot of Ring of Honor. So I feel like because I didn't get to watch a lot of Ring of Honor, I kind of feel a little left out in trying to get into both Mercedes right now, like Mercedes and Diamante. I personally haven't necessarily felt it yet. Like, I haven't felt too interested in either of them just yet. So I kind of feel like they need to win me over as a viewer right now. And so this match itself was okay. There was a spot where they did the border toss. I didn't think it looked good. And the border toss is definitely like something that's not always easy to execute. But that was something that kind of stood out to me where I was like, ooh, that was not great. Poor Diamante. She just freaking hit the mat, man. Like, it was very hard to catch her when you do that border toss. So that was something that unfortunately kind of stood out to me. I'd probably would not want to see that spot again, only because I was just like, damn, poor Diamante. She just went straight into the mat there. The one thing that I did love and I always love is the freaking pounce from Willow. Girl, I think she hits that harder each and every single time she does that. And then we do see Diamante use her legs to push the back of Mercedes Martinez while she's getting a roll up. And so she holds her back for leverage. And so she's able to get the win here. I wasn't too crazy about that either. I don't want to see I don't think that Kris Statlander's run as TBS championship has been built up as hot as like what they were doing with Jade. And so I personally do not want to see Kris Statlander on the losing side right now when she's the champ, and Willow Nightingale, who's literally having like the most fire year of her life in pro wrestling. So I really did not care for the actual finish of this match perfectly, but I get it. We're keeping this going. Cool. can't argue that too much. So that's just a little bit of where I'm at with that one. It's been a little bit harder for me to really get into it. So I hope that they do kind of, just get me into it just a little bit more. I'm being selfish. I'm only caring about me and whether or not I'm into it. So yeah, Metalhead for Life sends in another super sticker. Let's go. Thank you so much for all of the support, man. I really, truly appreciate you a whole lot. Appreciate everybody here who tunes in, who watches. It doesn't matter if you don't send in super chats, guys. If you even spend a minute here on this show, I really truly appreciate you guys, because I know there's a lot of people that you guys can be watching instead of me. So the fact that you chose to tune in to my broadcast, or you chose to press play on my podcast, is the very best. Yeah. All right, moving on from this, and we got a very funny backstage interaction between Toni Storm and Lexi Nair. This is probably the best thing that they've had Lexi as a part of in a backstage segment. This was great, man. Her and Toni, I need to see more interactions here, because they're like polar opposite. Like Lexi is more of like this sweet, quiet, poised type of girl, and Toni's like, she's just mean, and she's got a stiff upper lip, and she's just nasty to everybody, and she's always got the eyes, and she's being mean. And it was great. It was freaking great. So Toni Storm, so she's interviewing Toni Storm, right? And Toni's like, oh, I've been depressed because, I lost the title. And she then says, but I'm feeling better because Saraya is now in the Fatal 4-Way match with her. Wow. Ever since I started doing my Toni Storm impression, I'm trying to get my face back to the way it was. And I'm talking half like myself and half like a poor imitation of Toni Storm. So Toni Storm is happy that at All In, we are going to be having a Fatal 4-Way match. She's going to get her chance at getting back her championship, and her bestie Saraya has made it into this match. There's another spot, which a lot of people are expecting it to be Britt Baker. We'll find out if she defeats the Bunny. She's in, and Hikaru Shida, who's in there as well. So in this little promo bit that they were doing, Lexi asked Toni about Hikaru Shida. I don't even remember the question, but it was about Hikaru Shida. And Toni's like, how dare you? Like, how dare you ask me that? And she's like, I don't know what you do here, but I'm going to have security take you out. And I thought that was hilarious, because I'm like, she's clearly interviewing her. She clearly works there, and she wants security to take her out. And then it gets funnier, because the whole time she's calling her Toots. Love that. She needs to keep that going. Like, she needs to call, all the female interviewers toots from now on, because it's pretty damn funny. And then she says, then she finally leaves, right? She's pissed off. And then she gets her shoe and she just like throws it at Lexi. And the best part was that even through all of the times that Toni was being incredibly rude to Lexi, Lexi was like, thank you. Thank you for your time, for doing this interview with me. And so I thought that was absolutely perfect. I really enjoyed what they did here with Toni. And man, you know what? I'm kind of enjoying Toni by herself more so than with the Outcast. Like, I do not recall a funny moment like this with the Outcast whatsoever in like the last couple of months. Like, this has been the funniest thing we have seen from Toni Storm in a very long time, and I want to see more of it. Want to see more of it, really. All right, and let's go ahead and press on from all of this here and get into, we pretty much talked about everything. We got one more thing to talk about, and the last and final thing to talk about is the Christian Cage portion of this. We got a super chat here from Boozin' on Life. Thank you so much to Boozin' on Life for sending in this super chat. Boozin' on Life says, what is your prep for your live stream? Also, AEW for life. Okay, so really quickly, I could probably, I don't know if this will show. Let me really quickly just take a picture so that I can explain. All right, so what I do, let me take a closer picture, or else you guys are going to be able to log into my stream if I don't do it right. I don't want to accidentally show the whole link on here. So this is what my setup looks like. So when I watch wrestling, I do two things. So I'm watching the program and I'm taking notes for the post show. And I pretty much detail like moves, things that I want to bring up when I'm recapping the actual part of the match. Because when I do host shows by myself, my job is not only to react and review to the things that happen, but also recap the stuff that happened, because that, playing dual roles here. And so I basically watch the show. I write down things that I stick out to me, moves, moments, words, things that were said, little things that happened. And then I usually put like bullet points of, some thoughts that I'm thinking about during the show that I want to make sure to bring up when I'm watching on here. And for these shows, I tend to get a lot more detailed in terms of like what was actually said. When it comes to thoughts, I kind of remember that stuff off the top of my head already. But then when I actually do the shows, you will see that I have my notes app, and this is a screenshot camera that I just took. I have my notes app, and everything is divided into topics, and then right below it is literally everything that I want to make sure to touch on. Everything's spelled wrong because I don't autocorrect on notes ever. So everything's misspelled wrong, and so there's sometimes where I'm like, what the was that word? What was that word? And there's been times where it has happened to me where I'll say the wrong word or like the wrong person's name, because I'm like, oh shit, what the hell was that word? Because I never ever autocorrect anything. But on top of that, the other thing that I do is obviously tweet out a bunch. So it's a lot of multitasking when I do the shows, because I also want to make sure to, clearly put out my tweets and stuff like that. So Booze on Life, thank you so much for that great question. I appreciate that a whole lot. And clearly the more practice you do, the more practice you get. It just becomes second nature. Like, I can do a 24-hour live stream talking about wrestling at this point. Thank you so much to Booze on Life for the super chat. We got another one here from Mike T90K who says, amazing interview with Shida. One of your best. I'm just loving the vibe Collision puts on. The main event could have been a pay-per-view match. How are you feeling about the match cards for All Out and All In? So I know that, first of all, thank you so much for your comments on the Shida interview. I definitely think it's one of my best. It's up there, man. It's definitely up there on my top 5 favorite interviews that I've done. And so I do love the vibe that Collision is putting on as well. It does feel like AEW is now 2 different universes, where you have like the Dynamite universe and then the Collision universe. Because one of the things that I saw someone mention on Twitter, and I'm like, yeah, this is kind of true, is that on Collision, you had Ricky Starks, like I mentioned, literally beat up a man with a freaking belt and he gets suspended, right? And then on Dynamite, you have Swerve literally beat Nick Wayne to a bloody pulp in a home invasion and is not suspended or has any repercussions or anything. So it does feel like we do have 2 different universes when it comes to AEW. So I pretty much we just have to accept it, right? It's just different. There's little different things that they do. It's fine. Whatever. And in terms of how I'm feeling for the cards, well, All Out, there really isn't much announced yet. All In, we have a couple of matches, and I'm feeling good about it. I think there's a lot of matches that I think are going to be great. Are there any dream matches on it? No, but I do like what they have so far. I think all of it makes sense to what they have been doing on their programming on. And one of the things that I will say also is that AEW does a really good job of, sometimes you think the matches that aren't going to deliver end up being like some of the top matches of the freaking evening. And I always go back, because this is literally the perfect example, but I always go back to the Will Ospreay, Orange Cassidy match. I remember how many people were so pissed that Orange Cassidy was going to face Ospreay, and that ended up being literally match of the freaking night. And so that's probably like the best example, but you know what? It works in this case. So I really do think that we're going to get a lot of good stuff. Like MJF, Adam Cole, people are digging it. People are interested in them. That's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to seeing Sting freaking jump off of Big Ben or something, since he's probably going to go all crazy at his coffin match. But there's a lot of good stuff that I'm feeling so far. I'm curious to see what they're going to do with the women's fatal 4-way. I know that I'm rooting for Shida here. I'm rooting for her to retain. I don't know if that's the direction they're going to go. I hope it is. I really hope it is. I hope they don't go the obvious direction, but I hope they don't go the obvious direction, and I hope that they surprise us by keeping the title on the champion. I think that would be more surprising than crowning somebody else the victor at All In just to get like a moment, right? So personally, I do hope to see Shida retain, but Who knows? Mike T90K, thank you so much for this generous super chat as well. We got another one here from Arza288 who says, who is Brock Anderson for? Neither a great worker or a great promo or have any in-ring charisma. Andrew Everett showed more than 1/3 of the screen time. Oh my God. Okay, so Arza288. So I'm laughing because, and I don't know how many of you guys know this, but man, I forgot I was going to have to bring this up. So when was this? All right. I'm trying to remember when this happened, and maybe someone can Google it and give me the date and year and whatever. But you guys know wrestling Twitter is a very fun place. Wrestling Twitter is a very fun place. And I love Twitter. And I've only gotten myself in trouble on Twitter only very, very few times. Very, very few times. The one time that I put out an opinion about something on Dynamite, I got absolutely ripped to shreds. And to this day, I still stand by my opinion of what I said. And what's worse, though, and I'm still mad at myself for this, but this is how bad the backlash was for my tweet. I had to delete it. I've never deleted any tweet before. And the tweet, and a lot of you guys know which one it is, was that I tweeted, I have 0.001% interest in watching Malakai Black versus Brock Anderson. I did not know how many fans Brock Anderson had until I tweeted that. There were so many people that were like, she's fucking stupid. She's this, she's that. Podcasters talking shit to me. And then a couple months later trying to get me on their show. Nah, buddy, ain't happening here. But anyways, I remembered that. And the backlash for that was so bad. And I had never gotten such backlash for a tweet before. So I deleted it. And I talk about it now all the time on podcasts because to this day, I'm like, where the hell were all these people coming from? Why were people so upset about that? The match sucked too. Afterwards, it sucked. I wish I didn't delete my tweet the week prior because I had deleted it when I tweeted it out when they actually made the announcement of the match and ended up sucking. And then we didn't even see Brock Anderson anymore on AEW. And then today we sat through a Brock Anderson Luchasaurus match for the TNT Championship. And you know what? That wasn't great either. But to this day, I will never get over the fact about how mad people were about that tweet and how I had to freaking delete it. Like you would swear that I freaking tweeted that I eat children for a living. That is how mad people were about that tweet. And it was the dumbest thing and that I think that people could have gotten mad about. And that was the day that I realized that you cannot tweet an opinion because people will get mad. And so that was a big lesson that I learned that day for sure. But every time Brock Anderson comes out on my television screen, I think about that. I think about that freaking tweet and it makes me laugh. So guys, yes, I too have gotten my fair share of drama. Metalhead for Life, thank you so much. Damn. Thank you so much for the super sticker. I appreciate it a whole lot, man. He's rolling them in here. Johnny sends in a super chat saying Saraya wins and Hikaru wins it back at All Out. I would hate if they did that. If they did having Saraya win, and that's what I'm expecting them to do. But if they had her win and then lose the week after, that would be super, super lame. So yeah, and I and I got Labor Day says the pettiness. I love it. Keep all the receipts. I didn't. I freaking deleted the tweet, man. I freaking deleted the tweet, and I kind of regret that I deleted the tweet. It wasn't a mean tweet. All I said was I had no interest in the match. Like people act like they have interest in every single match that's ever occurred in pro wrestling ever. No way. I'm pretty sure you guys listening to this have a match that was announced that you were like, you know what? I don't freaking care about that match. That match looks so freaking lame. I don't care about it. And you know what? That is perfectly normal. That is okay. But again, do not tweet it out or people will come at you and kill you and want your head for dinner. And you will literally look like a freaking horrible person. And you're just going to have to sit there and take all of the heat. And at the time, I was still new to the Twitter wrestling world, and I was still new to all of that. And so I wasn't necessarily prepared for any of it. And I also do not like controversy. And so I personally was not ready for that backlash at the time. So if I tweeted it nowadays, like I would be like, nowadays, if I tweet something that is even remotely could be misconstrued as negatively or even has any sort of negative context in it, I have to make sure that I fully am prepared to defend my statement because Twitter is a terrifying place, but it's very fun. I love it. My favorite app. Warhammer sends in a super chat saying, I'm going to get myself a 0.001% t-shirt now. Dude, guys, man. Oh, I'm sure Labor Day says the internet is forever. I'm sure somewhere out there someone screenshotted it and was like, fuck this bitch. She said this. She said that. Trust me, I'm sure it's out there. I wonder, think about this. Think about of all of your real thoughts on pro wrestling. If you tweeted them out, would you be canceled or would you be not canceled? I'm curious. You think you'd be canceled by now? I almost got canceled because I didn't care about a Brock Anderson Malakai Black match. Can't believe it. Can't believe that happened to me. Very depressing. Anyways, moving on from this, but we got Miro who says no way Saraya loses in our country. I know. I'm pretty much expecting for that to happen. We'll see. All right, now let's go ahead and move on from this. Let's get into the Christian Cage stuff and get into the MD89 says I've been canceled for less. I don't know. That one was pretty low on the totem pole of things to be canceled for. All right. So Chris, we got another super chat here from Metalhead for Life. Thank you so much, Metalhead for Life, getting out here his freaking guitar poses. Anyways, all right, let's get into the Christian stuff, guys. So we mentioned the video that Christian did last week with his daughter. That was really hilarious. He didn't allow her to hold the championship and sent her off and didn't give a damn. He did not give a damn. So anyways, he comes out and he's trashing North Carolina and he starts talking about how the only thing he knows about North Carolina is that everybody is related. Oh my God, I just remembered something. Guys, was the Conan line that Conan said about the, oh my God, what was it? The lambs or the sheep or something or the goats? Was that also North Carolina? Oh my God, it was North Carolina, wasn't it? There was a line when Conan was on AEW. I think it was North Carolina where he said that the only thing that, oh my God, I'm trying to remember the freaking quote. It was the funniest thing ever. Let me see if I actually tweeted it out. If I tweeted it out, then I'll have it here. But if someone remembers the quote from Conan, Conan, and it was, I think it was goats. Ah, man, I don't know which one it was. Fridge. It was the funniest thing ever, but he said that it was the only people that were afraid of the men there were the goats. It was a very funny quote. Damn it. All right. I'm going to look for it later and I'll find it later. Or maybe somebody here will remember. Someone here knows what I'm talking about. I know you guys know. All right, whatever. So Christian Cage comes out and basically says that North Carolina, that they're all related. And then he starts bearing anybody that's associated with North Carolina. And he says that Michael Jordan isn't the greatest basketball player, that it's LeBron James. And then he says that he's better than Ric Flair and everybody wishes they were him. And he feels very disrespected by Darby Allin and that the title is his, and he's talking about it being his title. Finally, Arn Anderson comes out with Brock Anderson, and he comes down and reminds us that this is Horseman country, and everybody cheers. Woo! And Arn tells Luchasaurus, you do realize that you're the champion, not him. And I thought that was kind of funny, so I like that. And then we sit through a Brock Anderson versus Luchasaurus match for the TNT title. And as I sit there, I think to myself, it's Saturday. I live in Los Angeles, one of the most beautiful places on earth. And I'm sitting here watching Brock Anderson versus Luchasaurus. Moving on. The match happened. I cannot, off the top of my head, tell you anything remotely interesting that took place in this. Luchasaurus wins. There you go. And then afterwards, Darby Allin comes out and attacks both Brock Anderson and Luchasaurus and even rides his little skateboard on the back of Luchasaurus. And then afterwards, he tells Luchasaurus, you've been alive for millions of years, right? Because whatever, he's a dinosaur. And he goes, but have you ever had a skateboard up your butt? That was really funny. Very, very funny. And so finally, at the end of this, we get him challenging Christian to a match at Dynamite. And he accepts. and he even refers to him like, oh, if you really want to be a fighting champion, you will accept this match. And so Luchasaurus did show a little bit of like somewhat, I think it was frustration. I think he was a little angry because when Christian accepted it, he turned back and he was just like making his dinosaur sounds. And so I'm assuming that Luchasaurus is mad now because of this. So the thing, and it's crazy because, you know, we are going to be seeing Luchasaurus versus Darby Allin. Oh, the other thing that I want to mention too that I kind of hated about this was that they made this a TNT title match. And I'm like, why is this a TNT title match all of a sudden? I know they made it like sporadically, and it was funny because they made it while they were on commentary, but they never actually told the guys involved in it. Like, they didn't make an in-ring announcement. Like, I never heard the announcer actually say this is for the TNT title. Like, they told us, the people, but did they ever tell Brock Anderson? Did they ever tell Luchasaurus? Did they ever tell Christian Cage? Unless I missed it, it was like asleep at the wheel. I'm pretty sure they did not. So I did think that was kind of like a little minor thing that was really damn hilarious. But other than that, we are looking to see Luchasaurus versus Darby Allin at All Out. And that's pretty much been like the biggest thing that's been announced for All Out as of like right now. So yeah. And let's see what else we got here. We got a couple of super chats. Let's bring these in here. And this one is from, let's see. This is from Yes Boy, who says, I will be in Ontario late September when Raw comes to Cali. LA Mania was my first show. Denise, what has been your favorite town to attend a wrestling show? That's a really good question. My favorite town to, yeah, I know my answer. My favorite town or place that I've ever got to watch wrestling, and I only watched it one time, was in Mexico City. I got to go to Triple Mania last year, and I got to see Phoenix and Vikingo, and that was my first time watching Lucha in Mexico. I had only ever seen Lucha here in LA, but never in Mexico. And oh my God, it was just so different, you know, just so different in terms of just the overall electricity that you feel in the crowd. And then even just like the vibe is so different. And the way that Lucha is so embedded into the culture, and any place you go, you're seeing Lucha mask, and you go outside and there's all of these streets filled with Lucha gear, and everything's so cheap, guys. I got like pretty much like half the stuff that you see behind me, or not half, less than half. Couple of items you see behind me, I got there, and I spent like less than $100 because everything was so cheap. But it was just so cool. And then you get street tacos, and the tacos were great. And I mean, like, it was just all so cool. So yeah, definitely Mexico. Oh, and I got to throw money into the ring for the very first time in my life. You know, as you guys know, that happens in Lucha. Whenever a match is really great, people throw money in there, and it's a lot harder than it looks, because if you're shitty at throwing, you kind of really have to be in a good position. You kind of got to be up in the front and make sure that it actually lands where they can get it. So if you're far back and you throw money, it can land in the crowd, but you have to get a little closer to make sure that it lands in the ring if you have like a bad throw. So I got to throw money in for the first time. It was literally the best. Booze on Live sends in a super chat saying, I would be canceled in the first 5 minutes. You're like, here's my podcast. Welcome to the podcast. Here are my thoughts. Bam, canceled. Booze on Life. Thank you so much for making me laugh and sending in the super chat. I appreciate it, guys. I appreciate it. Look, the way that I see it when it comes to all of this stuff, it's pro wrestling, it's entertainment, it's subjective. If your friend were to say, you know what, all of a sudden says your favorite wrestler sucks, are you going to stop being friends with this person? Are you going to want them killed? Are you going to want them beheaded? No, you're not. You're not going to want any of that. So it should be the same thing on Twitter. Like, no one should ever truly get mad over a wrestling opinion. Ever. It should never happen. Oh, my name is Not Arrow says, I found the Conan Sheep comment, Denise. Can you please send it to me? If you can send it to me in the chat, that would be absolutely phenomenal. You do not have to send it in a super chat. Just send it in a regular chat if you can. I don't know if you found it in a link or if however you found it, or just remind me when it was. My name is Not Earl, because I do want to go ahead and read it because it was really funny. So anyways, I pretty much ran through everything else that took place on Collision here today. So thank you guys so much for tuning in, for hanging out with me. And I'm going to stall for some time until we hear from My Name Is Not Earl. And if you guys want to send in any last minute questions about Collision or anything else that I didn't touch on, or any opinion you want to get in, now is the chance before I wrap up the stream. We got Arzon 288 who says, Brock Anderson makes us all hate children. Why? Because he looks like his dad? Wait, why exactly? Why exactly? Sorry, Arza 288. You threw me off on that one. But I appreciate the super chat, man. I'm gonna take it as like maybe because he looks really like a lot like his dad, but that's a good thing, right? You never question it. If your child looks exactly like you, ain't nobody gonna question whether or not that's your child or not. Arza 288. Thank you so much for that super chat as well. In the meantime, guys, again, I do want to go ahead and promote the Hikaru Shida interview once again. If you haven't checked it out, please do so. And then next week, I will be here on Tuesday to talk about NXT. I will be back on Wednesday with Reg to talk about AEW Dynamite. I will not be here on Friday, though. My brother is having his first ever football game. So I'm going to go watch my brother, support him. And so I won't be here on Friday, but then I will be back here on Saturday for Collision. So the only day I won't be here next week will be the Friday show. And we got a super chat here from Booze on Life who says, I'm from North Carolina and now I'm offended. You're like, damn it, we want you to be beheaded. How dare you say these things about North Carolinians? Carolinians? I don't know. I'm assuming that's what you guys call yourselves. Man, you know what? I'll be honest with you. Anybody comes out here and talks shit about LA, all of a sudden I'll be mad. Just not really. I won't be mad, but yeah. Booze on Life. Thank you so much for the super chat, though. So I will be here next week for NXT, for Dynamite, and for Collision. So it'll be a really, really good time. Check out the Hikaru Shida interview, everyone. And that is pretty much it for me. And last but not least, please, guys, head on over to Apple Podcasts. Head on over to Spotify. Search up Instinct Culture by Denise Salcedo. I have, right now, I have 51 ratings. The last time I checked, I just haven't updated it on the screen. But I have 51 ratings, and my goal is to get to 100 ratings by the end of the year. So if you guys have some time, please go and leave a review. It would be really, really awesome if you did. Even if you just leave the star rating, or if you want to actually write something out, that would be really awesome. But I appreciate anybody who takes the time to do that. All right, everyone, that is it for today. Oh, we got it. We got the quote. Richard Martinez says, this was a quote by Conan, who said, and this was North Carolina, he said, where the men are men and the sheep are scared. Dead with that one, guys. With that, I leave you here with that last quote. Thank you, everybody. Have an awesome day, and I will see you back here on Tuesday for NXT. Bye, everyone.